Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are jumping right into one of the most fascinating architectural sagas in modern history. We're talking about the Dhara Tower in Kathmandu, Nepal. I mean, think about it. How does a 19th century military watchtower, literally built just to summon soldiers with a bugle, transform into the ultimate symbol of a nation's tragedy, its unbelievable resilience, and eventually a huge flashpoint for modern political friction? Well, today we're going to unpack the whole shebang, the deep history, the staggering tragedy, and the incredibly controversial rebirth of this towering monument. Let's get into it.
Here is our roadmap for the Explainer. First, a century-spanning legacy. Second, the 2015 collapse. Third, heritage versus modernity. And finally, the new Dhara. Section 1. A century-spanning legacy. Origins of the tower. Okay, let's dive into the fascinating and honestly often misunderstood beginnings of this Kathmandu landmark.
So, to really understand the tower, we've got to understand the man behind it, Bhimsen Thapa. Now, you'll often hear him called Nepal's first prime minister, but actually, scratch that. His real title was Mukhtiar, and he was the second person to hold it. Sure, the day-to-day duties were basically equivalent to a prime minister, but historians are quick to point out that mistranslating the title kind of distorts the history of the era. Bhimsen Thapa was a powerhouse, a military commander who absolutely loved Mughal-style architecture, which ended up deeply influencing his building projects. But why build a massive tower in the first place? Well, it all goes back to a huge diplomatic victory. During treaty negotiations with the British East India Company, the British wanted to take all the Terai land and just pay Nepal a flat annual sum. Bhimsen Thapa gave a hard no to that. He knew how crucial the Terai was for a system called Konki Kalab. Basically, this was how state employees got paid directly from Terai land revenues. By protecting this land, he literally saved the state's economic engine. The king was so blown away by this success that a second Dhara tower was built specifically to commemorate that exact victory.
What's truly mind-blowing about this monument is the sheer geological endurance test it's been through. We aren't just talking about one tower here. The first one was built in 1824, but an earthquake tore it in half 10 years later, and it was never rebuilt. The second tower survived until a massive quake in 1934 completely leveled it, leaving just 2 stories. It got rebuilt into a 9-story structure, and that one stood tall until the tragic events of 2015. It's like a phoenix, constantly rising from the rubble. And get this, how do you think they built those original, super resilient towers? They didn't use modern steel and concrete. They used organic materials like brick dust, lime, black lentil, and caramel. Yes, you heard me right, lentils and caramel. It sounds more like a recipe for a really dense cake than a skyscraper, but historically this traditional mix was considered way stronger than modern cement. It gave the tower its distinct white lighthouse-like vibe. Section 2. The 2015 collapse, a tragic earthquake. Which brings us, tragically, to recent history. We have to shift our focus to April 25, 2015. Right around lunchtime, a devastating 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck the region. The Dhara was completely toppled, leaving behind nothing but a jagged 10-meter stump. Because it was the middle of the day, the area was packed. 180 bodies were retrieved from the debris of that tower alone. It was an absolutely staggering loss of life at a single site. In an instant, a beloved tourist attraction turned into a site of profound, unimaginable grief. Now, you might be wondering, Kathmandu is filled with ancient, incredibly sacred UNESCO World Heritage sites that were also severely damaged. So why did this specific 19th century military watchtower capture the public's imagination? Academics point out that the image of the fallen Dhara sparked a huge resurgence of what's known as hill nationalism. It wasn't just a building anymore. It became the iconic representation of the disaster itself, and instantly a rallying cry for the nation to rise again. And the government recognized this intense public emotion right away. By February 2016, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli launched a massive public fundraising campaign with a really powerful slogan, "I will construct my Dhara." He and his cabinet even threw in a month's salary to kickstart the fund. The promise was clear: we were going to build back better and make it highly earthquake resistant. Section 3. Heritage versus modernity. Friction of rebuilding. But, as you'll see, the promise to rebuild opened up a massive cultural rift. This is a deeply human question that cities all over the world face after disaster. Do we restore the past exactly as it was, or do we build for the future? In Kathmandu, the debate over the Dhara was fierce. The divide was stark. The authorities wanted a modern, resilient tower.
They argued, hey, all the previous towers fell in earthquakes, so we absolutely need to use modern concrete to protect the people in this dense city center. But heritage activists, they were not having it. They argued that pumping the tower full of modern concrete and inflating its size totally stripped away its cultural value. Plus, they pointed out a massive technical flaw. Concrete only lasts about 40 to 50 years, meaning this new tower might not even survive the region's next historical mega-earthquake cycle.
The frustration among conservationists was so raw. Many felt this new design was just a flashy, commercialized fake. One activist bluntly hit the nail on the head from their perspective, stating, "It is not Dharaha, it is a view tower." They felt the new project completely betrayed the traditional architectural soul of the Kathmandu Valley.
And it wasn't just about the architecture. It was about the money. Activists argued that this massive budget could have been spent in much better ways. Why not rebuild culturally vital sites like Kumari Shen? Or, just preserve the tragic ruins as a quiet memorial park? Others said the money should have gone straight into public health, like buying vaccines, or expanding open green spaces for the community.
Section 4. The New Dharaha, a modern rebirth. But despite all the protests, the project moved forward. Let's look at what stands there today.
So what did a 3.48 billion rupee budget actually buy? A literal ton of infrastructure. From the outside, it still looks like that classic 11-story minaret, but secretly, it is a massive 22-story modern complex. We're talking over 92 meters tall, equipped with multiple elevators, a museum, a garden, and a massive underground parking facility that could hold 6,000 two-wheelers. It's an absolute behemoth.
But amidst all this gleaming modernization, there is a really brilliant, poignant architectural compromise. They didn't completely pave over the tragedy. The physical scars of 2015, the jagged ruins of the fallen tower, are preserved right there in a glass enclosure next to the new structure. The memory sits directly beside the rebirth.
Economically speaking, this place is a powerhouse. In just its first 6 months of paid public operation, and this was just on an interim basis, the new Dharaha generated a staggering 45 million rupees in revenue.
The public demand is off the charts. Even with the ongoing controversies, management reports seeing up to 2,800 visitors a day on public holidays. Hundreds of thousands of people have already flocked there, proving that the desire to stand atop this iconic piece of history is as strong as it ever was.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound thought to chew on today. You've seen the deep 19th century roots, the sheer heartbreak of 2015, and the massive concrete reality of today's complex. So as Dharaha stands tall in the Kathmandu skyline once again, does it represent the unyielding resilience of a nation that refuses to stay down? Or does it represent the commercialization of a deeply tragic memory? It's a hugely complex legacy and a question that will likely hover over the valley for decades. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.